Hey y'all, and welcome to Brawl. My name is Brian, and Lisa McClain gives Boris Sanchez an absolute earful when he thinks he can start sneering at the fourth highest ranked GOP official in Congress. It's not going to end well for him. Let's dive in.
Ford's CEO has lamented what he described as a lot of cost and a lot of chaos from the Trump administration on auto tariffs. There was some back and forth. There were some delays. Now they're set to kick into place in April. What do you tell constituents when you hear automakers say that the cost of certain vehicles is going to skyrocket? It's going to jump upwards of $12,000 because of these tariffs.
Yeah. I tell them to relax. Don't listen to the fear-mongering because the Democrats right now have no vision, they have no plan,
automakers,
and they have no.
From
if you don't
like
mind, I had enough respect to let you talk. So would you like me to answer the question, or do you want
I just want to clarify. You're describing it as fear-mongering. What I cited was a Ford CEO. Yeah. Automakers are the ones saying that these costs are going to jump.
Yeah. Okay, so I'll continue with my answer. When the Democrats have no mission, no message, no vision, and no leader, all they have is fear-mongering, right? That's what they do, and they talk to the CEOs and they plant these fears in them. No different than when we had to give a bunch of subsidies to EV mandates. You didn't cover that. Yet the cost of the vehicles went up dramatically, yet we had to subsidize those. So the people in my district who I have actually spoken to, as well as the CEOs, they understand that tariffs are a negotiation tool. They are hopeful that we can, under President Trump's leadership, that we can get fair trade agreements. That's the goal. We're tired of getting taken advantage of. So they understand that that's President Trump's goal, to get fair trading agreements and level the playing field for our employees, for our Americans, and that it might be a little uncomfortable, but long term, they know that this will be in their best interest. And they also are smart enough not to take the bait on all the fear mongering. They believe that America will be put on the right path, and that the person to do that is President Trump. Remember, we're making a massive switch from EV mandates, right, which we had to subsidize, to fair trade. And that's really what my people in my community, in my district want. Thank you.
Chairwoman, your contention is that Democrats are conspiring with the CEOs of auto companies to scare folks into thinking that prices are going to go up. That's where those claims come from?
Your word, not mine.
Well, you suggested just a moment ago that Democrats and these CEOs were somehow working together to come up with these figures that are a result of tariffs. Is that what you're suggesting? That's what you're suggesting?
All you need to do is turn on the TV. Look at your show. It's nothing but fear mongering. That's all the Democrats do. What's inflation doing? What's inflation? Up or down? Oh, it's down. What's the prices of eggs? Oh, they're down. What's the prices of mortgage? Oh, it's down, right? But we don't cover the positive things. We only cover the negative things to get everyone worked up. So here's two things. This could be a potential problem, but it actually could be a potential long-term solution. But when you don't want to cover the other half, and all you talk about is the one half, of course that's what you're going to hear. I would prefer to give both sides of the story. That's what real news people used to do, is they would give both sides of the story.
Methinks Boris Sanchez doth protest too much, and if you don't know who he is, he's probably going to be irrelevant soon anyways, because CNN's days are numbered. And as a Georgia boy who has no ties whatsoever to Ted Turner, good. So, Boris is out here trying to smirk off that I'm a much better journalist than you give me credit for, Miss Lisa. That automatically makes me suspect that this dude really has already been just punched in the gut on TV and is now trying to reorient himself, because the reality is that's all CNN is going to let its viewership see. They're only going to report the negatives of the tariffs. Now that's going to go without saying, because almost all media is going to be sensationalized. I hate to use it, but it works until you start giving the context, which is the point of having these sorts of shows either on YouTube or on CNN. And Boris doesn't really seem too interested in giving that context in any way, shape, or form. Instead, Lisa McClain is out here having to remind this dude that, hey, you're talking about all these high prices. Are you going to ever talk about the potential success stories or the successes that we're already seeing, that companies are starting to reinvest here in the United States and trying to bring some manufacturing back here? Are you not going to report on this? Of course not. CNN's goal is to basically make as much money as it can, right? So they're going to make it look like they're giving news, but what they're really giving is they're catering to rich white liberals. And it's been a while since I've complained about people like that on this channel, and so it's time to bring them up again. CNN has to cater to these rich white liberals because it's the only way they can stay relevant in the news cycle. You see, rich white liberals, for some reason, only seem to believe in what is ever fed to them by MSNBC, CNN, or occasionally whatever fool that they have followed on Twitter that only gives them a headline. And we've talked about the headline problem here on Brawl before, and it's essentially this: that you give a headline that's sensationalized, and then about 7 or 8 paragraphs down, you finally read that, puppies are not going through a starvation period in the United States, but that was the headline. Headline reads, "Puppies starve in the United States." And then as it turns out, it's only a small section here because the roads were closed due to a winter storm. That's exactly what CNN does time and time and time again. And then the moment they get some pushback, for instance, in this case, Lisa McClain, which, by the way, side note, she is now the number 4 person in the GOP. Her new title, as at the end of this year, is the chair of House Republican Conference. So that basically means that when the Republicans all conference together, when they all caucus together, she's the one with the gavel saying, "You need to hush, you have the floor, and someone please escort this fool out of the building." Okay, that's essentially what her job is, and that gives her a lot of power. And so who she is behind the scenes, however, is not some dynamo on the screen. And you saw her slowly get through her talking points. I'm not going to detract from that, but the reality is she's not she's not exactly cracking the whip on TV, but she seems like the kind of person that has a keen memory, knows when someone's spewing nonsense, and knows when to shut that down as soon as they can. That's why she got the position, and that's why Kat Kamak ultimately lost her bid for this position. So Lisa's doing a good job, and she's from Michigan. So Boris Sanchez thinks that he's going to be able to talk about tariffs here. He thinks that he's going to be able to get away with this, and the reality is no. The tariffs being used are nothing more than a rhetorical weapon trying to get Canada and Mexico to renegotiate things, try to spur on American-made products here in the good old US of A. It is an attempt not to raise prices on a ton of products, but trying to get a whole bunch of other potential items back into the United States. Okay? That's the point of our tariffs. And so the auto industry is a little bit scared right now. I don't fully blame them, particularly when you live in Michigan and when you're literally surrounded by Canada. Michigan gets a lot of products from Canada and vice versa. And so the tariffs are going to hit there a little bit different, but we've covered guys like John James here on the channel before, and he gave a great defense on what we're trying to do with tariffs. And so that's the media narrative that the GOP is trying to push, whereas Boris Sanchez here is trying to catch her between a rock and a hard place. And that's something that we've been noticing time and time again with these Republicans that don't have these name brand recognitions, like your Josh Hawleys or your Marjorie Taylor Taylor Greens. The mainstream media is going to act very differently when you don't have sort of an A-list by your name. And Lisa McClain is not exactly an A-lister here. However, she does have extreme power within the GOP. She is soft-spoken and does tell the truth, and that is essentially that the Democrats don't want to be talking about any potential positives from the economy because, after all, inflation's finally starting to go down. The price of eggs is finally being taken care of. We're starting to see some actual positive impact on these things that Trump has talked about all throughout the campaign season. So we're starting to see the Republicans coalesce their messages, and she's not letting Boris Sanchez move her off her spot. So McClain, we're going to be seeing more of her in recent years, whereas Boris, good luck, buddy. You are on the Titanic, and when that ship sinks, I don't think that there's a Carpathia coming out to rescue you. Folks, my name is Brian. Hope you enjoyed that segment here on Politibrawl. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Catch you on the next one. Until then, y'all have a good one.